So as the NHL season approaches, we have been getting rumors and rumblings and all sorts of reports over the last couple of weeks that the Maple Leafs and goaltender Anthony Stolarz are closing in on an extension. You know, what's it going to be? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, what's it going to be? I don't know, but all these reports kept surfacing, and finally today on Sunday, both parties decided to make it official. The Maple Leafs have signed goaltender Anthony Stolarz to a 4-year extension worth $15 million with an average annual value of $3.75 million. Really? That's it? I'm not misreading that, am I? Yep, nope, $3.75 million, that's what it is. So Stolarz is now locked up at a very reasonable rate, and the Leafs now have both of their goaltenders locked up through the 2027-28 season. So for the next 3 years at least, it is Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. That tandem will remain intact, and it's honestly quite a steal to have both of them for the prices that they're at. And with the cap set to explode over the next couple of years, having two goaltenders that are starting caliber goalies signed for a number that starts with a 3 could wind up looking incredible in a couple of years. It already looks good for this year, but it could wind up being even better, which is crazy. So this season, because Stolarz is still signed for just $2.5 million, Woll and Stolarz combined make $6.166667 million, because Woll is making $3.666667 million. And then going forward, they are going to be making a combined $7.4 million, or just a little above $7.4 million combined, which for two good goalies is a very good rate. Now, some people are going to have some concerns about Anthony Stolarz, which are very justified considering they are paying him to be a tandem goalie / starting goalie, and he hasn't really done that. Even last year, he was the starter, but he didn't play a full starter's workload of games, and he dealt with injuries throughout the season, which has been a theme throughout his career. In fact, last season, Stolarz set a career high in games played with 34, and in those games, he was absolutely unbelievable, posting a .926 save percentage and just a 2.14 goals against average. And the year before, he played 27 games with the Florida Panthers, which was the third most that he's ever played, and again posted a .925 in those games, which is incredible. Not to mention, Stolarz was also the starter in the playoffs, and he was absolutely fantastic against the Ottawa Senators in round 1, and he was very good in the 2 periods that he played against the Florida Panthers before he unfortunately was knocked out with a concussion that cost him the rest of the playoffs and potentially cost the Leafs that series, which potentially cost them a chance at that cup. But we are going to digress and not get into that because it's not important right now. Sam Bennett, you're on my hit list still. It is also worth noting that last year Stolarz was 4th in the NHL in goals saved above expected with 25.8, and that is despite playing 10, 20 games less than some of the guys at the top. The leader was Connor Hellebuyck with 39.6, and he played 63 games to Stolarz's 34. And also, Hellebuyck was goofy in that stat. Second place was Andrei Vasilevskiy with 29.2, which is only a couple of points higher than Stolarz, again, in 63 games, whereas Stolarz was just at 34. So he was playing as one of the league's best goalies, despite the fact that he didn't play a full starter's workload. Like I said earlier, he was still among the NHL's best all season. To start this season, Stolarz's workload might be a little bit bigger than anticipated because Joseph Woll is currently away from the team with a personal issue. We have no idea how long he's going to be out. There is no timetable for his return. James Reimer has been signed to a PTO, and he will presumably potentially act as the backup for the time being, but Stolarz is going to be, he's going to be looked to early and often as the NHL season gets underway soon here. Now, for as much as the whole injuries and games played factor is a concern for Stolarz because he has had good production as a goaltender in the NHL, he just hasn't done it for long stretches in a season because of injuries. The other thing to look at is his age, because he is currently 31 years old. He turns 32 in January, which means by the end of this contract, he's going to be 36. He'll be 36 when that contract ends. And obviously, when you have a player that is aging, that is a concern that you want to look at, is could he potentially fall off with his production? And those concerns are justified. I'm not going to try to tell you not to be worried about that. But at the same time, goalies have a bit of a weirder age curve and development curve where a lot of guys can find success into their mid and even late 30s. So the age curve is a little bit different. So it is noteworthy, but I wouldn't say it's as much of a concern, whereas the injuries and inability to play a full starter's workload, that is a legit concern. He's never played more than 40 games, which 41 games is probably minimum for a starter nowadays. I know the tandems have taken over the league, but he's never done it before. So will his body hold up over if he plays 50 games? I have no idea. Maybe we'll see it this season, but that is the risk here. It's a fair contract based on the amount of games Stolarz has played in his career, but his production has also been good enough to get a contract that is this long and has a good amount of money attached to it. The upside is tremendous here because if Stolarz is able to play at a 920, 915 level even for 50, 55 games, this is going to be an absolute steal of a contract, and the Leafs will have had a starting level goalie for under $4 million as the cap continues to explode. And the downside is honestly not that big, because if Stolarz plays 30 games again and then he comes back for the playoffs presumably, or even if he doesn't, you're going to get 30 games of presumably good production once again, and it's not going to completely sink you on the cap. So it's a decent risk with very, very high upside on this deal. Brad Treliving has done a wonderful job with the extension so far this offseason, and now that the Leafs are set up for success in the future with their contracts, the Leafs are going to have a lot of money to work with in the future. And when I say set up for the future, I mean the Leafs have everyone mostly locked in for the future, and they still have a ton of room to work with going forward. As it stands right now, the Maple Leafs have 9 forwards, 6 defensemen, and that all 6 that are expected to play, plus a couple extra in the minors, and both of their starting goaltenders locked up, and they are still projected to have over $20 million in cap room next offseason. That could obviously get even bigger if they trade David Kampf, if they trade Calle Yarncroke to open up some more room. So the Leafs, with that loaded free agency class coming up next year, are set in a position to take a big swing should the right pitch be available. And obviously, all eyes are on Connor McDavid at Edmonton. I don't think that is realistic to think about. However, there are going to be a lot of $6, $7, $8 million players that are going to be available that are realistic for the Leafs to look at. And if a superstar does happen to become available, the Leafs are going to be well positioned to take a run at them as well. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit like on the video and subscribe to the Game Over Toronto channel. We do broadcasts after every single Toronto Maple Leafs game, and that is going to start the second that the season does. The first game against the Canadiens on Wednesday, October 8th. We're going to be there after the game breaking it all down, so make sure you have the notification bell rang so that you don't miss a single stream after any of those games. We are also going to have a season preview coming at you at some time in the next week or so before the season starts, so that you have everything that you need to know before the Leafs take the ice for this season. So aside from that, if you've made it this far, remember to hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time right here on Game Over Toronto. Cheers.